Saludos a toda la afición de Lucha Libre Online. Este que les habla es Michael Morales Torres, integrante del equipo de Lucha Libre Online. Y tenemos el enorme privilegio de presentarles a nuestro invitado especial en la tarde de hoy, directamente desde Londres, Reino Unido, para el mundo. Jay Landrod llega aquí por primera vez a Lucha Libre Online. Jay, it is a privilege for us to have you as our guest. How are you doing today?
Very well. Buenos dias to all my friends out there in Latin America. Great to be here. It is an absolute honor. As you can tell, I'm dressed for the occasion. I have a tremendous respect for Lucha Libre Online. I follow you guys. I follow you guys very closely. So I'm thankful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for being here, and you stood up and everything, man. You look nice, so we do appreciate that and the following and doing that for us. So it means a lot. Thank you. I wanted to start this interview asking you, every career has a humble beginning. What's Jay Landrod's humble beginning inside the wrestling industry? Like, what caught your eye enough to do this as a profession?
You know, I mean, so in the UK, we we had occasional shows on free channels. So I was lucky enough to catch, I started watching wrestling in 98 and I was around 7 years old. And then the first thing I saw was sort of the WWF and WCW, and it was on free TV. So it was 1 hour. You had Sunday Night Heat, which was on, Channel 4, or, at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. And then you had WCW Thunder, which was on like a Saturday evening around 7 p.m. And you needed cable to have the full shows. I didn't have cable, but I had the free channels. So Thunder and Sunday Night Heat was more than enough for me. And I remember just seeing it, watching it in awe. My parents were wrestling fans, from generations. My grandfather would watch British wrestling. We had this thing called World of Sport that was on national TV in the UK for years, for absolute years. And he watched it, way before I was born. Then my mum watched it. So for me to get into it, it wasn't difficult because they were already enthusiastic about it and supportive of it. And then as time went on, you look at nearby shows, what's going on in the area. This was like, by this point, it's early to mid 2000s. I'm maybe 11, 12 years old. And we saw I remember seeing a commercial, like an ad for free tickets. You answer the question correctly and you can win free tickets to your local wrestling show. And it was British wrestling. And it was like the beginning of I would say, kind of independence and things like that. And my mum just called them. I knew the answer to the question. She won the tickets. We went to our first ever show, and it was good fun. From that point forward, I made my decision. I had decided that I wanted to be a professional wrestler, and thankfully, my mum was supportive of that. The promoter who was promoting the shows at that time, this might have been 2004, is somebody that I still keep in touch with today. And that promoter is actually one of the most successful promoters in the country right now. Promoting one of the largest touring promotions in the UK at the moment. So it's funny how things are all connected one way or another. And that was, almost 20 years ago. And from that point forward, I never looked back.
I'll translate this briefly to Spanish. Jay Landrod comienza en la industria de la lucha libre. En Reino Unido no tenían tal vez Raw, ni tenían SmackDown, ni tenían WCW Nitro en aquel momento dado, porque eso era televisión por cable pagada. Entonces, lo que le llamaba Free TV o televisión abierta, habían dos alternativas que eran WCW Thunder y Sunday Night Heat de WWF. Y él dice como que eso fue suficiente como para cautivar mi atención y atraparme en aquel momento. Dándole un poco adelante en el tiempo, se presenta la oportunidad de ganar boletos gratis y adivinabas una clave en un programa y en un concurso. Le dice a su mamá, mira, yo necesito esos boletos, yo quiero ganar esos boletos, yo quiero ser parte de esto. Y entonces la mamá llama, da la clave y se gana los boletos, como que ahí aparecen o tienen la oportunidad de llegar a su primer show independiente de lucha libre en Reino Unido. Quedó enamorado de eso. Y de hecho, dato curioso, el promotor de aquel evento donde él ganó los boletos hace mucho tiempo atrás es promotor actualmente en Reino Unido y es el promotor de una de las empresas principales en todo Reino Unido haciendo tour, que es bastante interesante las vueltas que da la vida y como todo acaba en círculo. Como él dice, él comenzó de una manera y terminó trabajando para él. So from being that kid that had that dream, the kid that watched Sunday Night Heat and WCW Thunder, the kid that won the tickets to that event, independent event in the UK, when it was the moment that you decided it was a time to enter to a ring? Because one thing is seeing it as a fan, and another thing completely different is saying that it's actually possible. I can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, I think like many kids, one of the things that me and a lot of my friends did was essentially backyard wrestle. And you know, we had a mattress, we would suplex each other, and we would actually tell stories in that ring, you know, or sorry, on the mattress. But eventually you reach a point in time where if you really want to do this properly, and if you really want to do this professionally, and you want some kind of career out of it, you're going to have to join a school. I was very fortunate and very lucky to have found an academy, a school nearby. It wasn't too far away. So me and one of my friends, we decided to go there on the weekends. They were running, you know, consecutively every single week. They were there. It was LDN Academy, and it was a school under LDN Wrestling, and the coach there was a wrestler who became a full-time coach named Justin Richards. And that was where I really learned not only how to be a professional wrestler, but how to be an athlete, how to be a disciplined athlete. I learned many things there. I learned respect. I learned humility. I learned how to carry myself, you know, and I was just a young boy at that point. I think I was about 16 years old. So you can imagine, like any 16-year-old, they're there to have fun. They don't know these things. They're still learning. And what a tremendous learning experience that was for me, to be able to say at 16 years old, I was under one of the best coaches in the UK, under one of the best promotions in the UK, having these tools at my disposal to learn and grow and mature.
I'll translate this to Spanish. Él menciona que llega el momento donde sus amigos y él tenían matres a la parte de atrás, eran backyarders, les gustaba hacer movidas, suplexes y todos en los matres, pero toca el momento de decidir que si obviamente queremos dar el próximo paso y llegar al próximo nivel, pues hay que buscar un entrenamiento profesional. Entonces llega a su primera escuela de lucha libre con un profesor de apellido Richards. Ahí entonces tiene la oportunidad de crecer tanto como luchador, de tener esta visión de lucha libre, de aprender de la humildad del negocio, de aprender la parte buena, la parte mala, lo difícil, la disciplina detrás del negocio y las responsabilidades que envuelve, los riesgos que tiene la industria de la lucha libre, entre muchísimas otras cosas, pues él las aprendió directamente allí, las aprendió en esta escuela de lucha libre y poco a poco fue, vamos a decirlo de esta manera, enamorándose más aún de esta industria. So one thing is training pro wrestling, another thing completely different is making your pro wrestling debut. What do you recall of your first pro wrestling match? How did you felt at that moment prior to entering the ring and after you went out of the ring?
You know, I was ecstatic to be there, and I remember the number one emotion I was feeling, the number one feeling that I was just thinking the entire time was gratitude. I remember being so grateful to be there. I was thanking my tag team partner and he was thanking me. And we were like, whoa, wait, there's a crowd and they're here to watch us. And we're actually like doing this, and we're you know, taking the bumps in the ring, and we've got the story in our heads and minds. We know what we're trying to portray. We know what character we're doing. It's one of the best feelings in the world. And I just remember feeling just complete gratitude. I was like, wow, that I went from being the kid that was watching the show and then to being in more or less the same venue, but now I'm one of the guys, one of the wrestlers, one of the people. And essentially there might be a little kid that's looking up to me the way I was looking up to somebody else.
I'll translate this. Él menciona que obviamente él entra emocionado a la industria, pero tenía gratitud. Él estaba agradecido de que yo era el muchacho que se sentaba en la casa a ver televisión, a ver nuevamente WCW Thunder, a ver Sunday Night Heat, y de momento tener la oportunidad de estar aquí, de yo ser el luchador, de que la gente alrededor me esté viendo a mí, simplemente agradecido con la vida por esa oportunidad tan tremenda que me dio. What's different about the independent circuit in the United Kingdom compared to the rest of the world? Because I've seen videos of companies like Rev Pro or ICW, among many others, and ambience, it's like, man, it was similar to the Temple and Lucha Underground. Everyone is so into it. Nobody's trying to hijack the show. They're just enjoying good pro wrestling. But this is me as a fan coming from outside the independent circuit in the UK. You, Jay Lamro, that has lived this experience, what's different from the fans in the UK compared to the rest of the world?
So I think the wrestling is what sets it apart. I think that traditional, British wrestling has its own roots and history that goes back so many years, and so many wrestlers from around the world I've seen firsthand go there and tour the UK simply to learn that particular style. And there is a very authentic, unique way of wrestling in the UK that sets it apart from the rest of the world. I think the fans know that and appreciate that. And then that combined with today's modern fans as well, I think the fans are very vocal. It's big part of our kind of culture to be involved and to be interactive. And I think the promoters are able to use that in a way that's really positive, because you kind of bring the fans in, you have them just as much a part of the show as anybody else, so we're all kind of in it together. It's very interactive. We're very responsive to each person in the crowd, and they can feel that. And the feeling is there. So I think that combined with the history and the roots, which has kind of set the foundation and kind of paved that road for it, combined with all the modern fans, that's kind of what you're seeing with a lot of these shows, especially when you're hearing things about UK fans. This is pretty much it. This is what I've just described. This is it. The energy, the interaction, the willingness to really be involved in it, and that emotional investment. I think that is a huge part, and we all embrace that, wrestlers, promoters, fans alike.
Él menciona que lo que hace especial al público de Reino Unido, obviamente, es que vámonos a los cimientos hacia atrás cuando llegaron al Wembley Stadium a luchar el Bret the Hitman Hart y British Bulldog, por darte un ejemplo, en SummerSlam. Tenías ese tipo de fanáticos que son los que crean todo esto, al igual que tienen los fanáticos de los 70, mezclados con los fanáticos que tienes actualmente en los 2021, 2020 en general. Tienes una mezcla de eras, de manera de ver la lucha, pero lo importante es que todos te transmiten esa misma vibra, esa misma energía, esas ganas y esa pasión por la industria de la lucha libre, ese respeto que le tienen a la industria, y eso es lo que hace tan especial a la industria del Reino Unido. Es la mezcla de generación y generación y generación, en lo que se convirtió la evolución que es hoy día el fanático del Reino Unido, mezclado con todas estas emociones que les hace sentir, y lo que él dice es algo bien importante, ese emotional investment, esa inversión emocional que tienen los talentos con sus fanáticos, o sea, logran conectar genuinamente, y el fanático se lo vive a plenitud la lucha libre, y por eso es tan distinta. What do you consider, you've been in the wrestling industry for a while now, but so far, what do you consider is the match that changed your perspective about pro wrestling, or about doing pro wrestling itself? Like the one that you've had, not that you've seen outside.
That's a really good question, actually. That's a really good question. A match, every match I have is kind of pivotal for me, because it's a learning experience, and I would still consider myself pretty new, learning and hungry for more information and knowledge. So I think that I think every match I have, to be honest with you, and sorry to dodge the question without a direct answer, but I think every single match I have at this stage for me is very pivotal, and very kind of is a learning experience in that, in that particular thing. I'm learning new things about my own identity and about the variety of opponents we have around the world, the more and more I travel. So yeah, if there's one match, I don't think I could pick a single match, but if I could say a whole series of matches that I've had, that would be a better answer for you, because it's more like a stepping stones. It's like, oh, he's learned something new there. He's learned something new there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. I'll translate that. Él menciona que no hay una sola lucha que le haya cambiado la perspectiva, sino que son todas las luchas son importantes. Todas las luchas es una experiencia para aprender. De todas las luchas él aprende algo distinto, tanto del oponente como de la vivencia que tiene. Y él está en un punto de su carrera que está buscando eso mismo, expandir su conocimiento y tratar de aprender un poco de todo. No es que estamos evitando la pregunta como él dice, es que para él todas las luchas son importantes y todas las luchas tienen un motivo, y de todas las luchas él aprende algo y le cambia un poco la perspectiva, porque él todavía está formándose dentro de la industria, o al menos formando su visión. The independent circuit in the UK, it's, as mentioned before, it's something really interesting, because it's been there since the 70s, but it boomed between the 80s and the 90s. Then on 2000, it fell for a while, and the 2010s, everything just boomed again extremely to where we are today. What do you think is, the company that you wanted to perform inside the independent circuit of the UK, and you've already, done that so far? Like, which is the company that you wanted to perform for and that you already did, and which is the one that you haven't performed for so far?
The one that's really come full circle for me was the one that had the training school, which is where I started. And the reason why is because when I went to my first live event, it wasn't necessarily that same promotion, but it was that same promoter. So remember how I told you, I met that promoter many years later. That promoter was at his beginning stages of putting on shows. And I went there when I was 12. My mum took me there when I was 12 pretty much, and I saw it live. I made that decision. Then a couple of years later, I went to the training school that was being run by the promotion that promoter was owned essentially. And then so it's like fast forward many years, it's kind of come full circle. And if I could say to you one place you'll see me wrestling in the very near future, and it's it's been a situation with travel restrictions this year, but those are lifted and things are going back to normal inevitably. The next place you'll see me at is LDN Wrestling. They're one of the, if not the, largest touring promotion in the UK at the moment. They're up and down the country. And like I said, that was a place where I trained many years ago. And it was a place where I went and watched their shows when I was a kid. It's funny that it's still around. It's a testimony to the fact that it's been successful. And, that's one kind of shout out that I would like to give, just in terms of where I'd like to be, the people that are there, the champions and the wrestlers. That's something that I visualized in my mind very clearly.
Perfect. Él menciona que la empresa en donde él siempre quiso estar fue donde él comenzó toda su carrera. O sea, el mismo promotor en sus fases jóvenes, cuando él tenía 12 años, que le dio los boletos que se ganó y fue a su primer show independiente, que su mamá lo llevó, pues él tuvo la oportunidad para trabajar, de trabajar para él, que fue la misma gente que lo entrenó, que es la misma gente con la que sigue trabajando, y es la misma empresa en donde él desea estar en un futuro, que es LDN, una empresa independiente, o la empresa independiente de mayor cantidad de tours, o más grande ahora mismo en el Reino Unido. Ese es donde él quiere estar, esa es su visión, y ahí es donde él quiere ir nuevamente, con algo de full circle, donde todo comenzó, y tener la oportunidad de llegar allí directamente. Jay, let's take a plane and let's go to the Emirates. You did something really interesting in this year, in the middle of the pandemic and everything. You had the opportunity to perform internationally in a territory that is not known for pro wrestling. Let's go step by step. You wrestle MBM, a really talented guy from Belgium. But before heading there, who contacted you to receive this opportunity? How did Jay Lamrod ended up wrestling in Dubai Emirates?
Yeah, so the way that it worked was there was always there was a small thing going on here. There's never really been a big scene necessarily, but there's always been small things. And I always look online, and I saw that there was something happening there, a couple years before, a few years ago, essentially. And it kind of it withered away, it went on hiatus and things like that. But I was able, fortunately, to be in contact with a couple of the people that were there, and there was a and they're a young bunch of people, but really talented. And some of them have had, WWE tryouts and things like that. So I was lucky enough to speak with them, and I was lucky enough to do kind of interviews with them and things like that. I was kind of speaking with them and becoming friends. And then as time went on, this is in fact this time a year ago, one of the guys that I was speaking to had ordered a ring, and he was like, look, I'm starting something up. I've got this ring. It was delayed because of essentially the pandemic, but it's finally here. It literally docked at the port, and they had, because they ordered it from another country. And I said to him, I was like, look, the first day it's there, as soon as the parts are there, just let me know. As you know, like many wrestlers, a big part of what we do is put up rings. Well, that's part of just being there. We were there at the beginning of the show, and at the end of the show, we're taking down the ring. So I've got plenty of experience in that. So let me know when the ring's there, and I'll help you put it up. I'll be there. And lucky enough, it was there. It was, he called me on a Saturday, and he was like, hey, the ring's here. Done. I was there, and as soon as the ring came, it was in the truck. Open the door, bang, straight in. I was in there, taking out the pieces, putting it up. It was a group effort. We were all kind of in there, but that was the beginning of it. So then at that point, you know, the ring's up, he's got the space, you know, they're doing training, everybody's training in and out. And then they're like, okay, we want to do a show now. We want to start growing this into something that is consistent, whether that's a show every month or a show every 2 weeks. We want something. So inevitably, I was like, look, as and when the show starts or the show begins, you want, whenever you want to do your first show, I'm there. And it very much became like a consistent thing. And, you know, I'm very, very happy and thankful that it has become a consistent thing, because I've been a part of it. I've been a part of it since day one. And I'm proud to say that, you know, it's been a whole year. We've done, I think, was it 11 or 12 shows we've done? So it's you know, it's basically one a month essentially, and it's growing. It's only the beginning. It's only, you know, so to be able to say that I've had a hand in that from the beginning and hopefully contribute in a positive way, enough so that, you know, MBM comes over, we have a nice little match, you know, and that's just this is the tip of the iceberg, isn't it? Stuff like this. So it's good fun. It's really good fun. And I think that's the key takeaway. If you tell any of the guys here, if you remember this whole monologue.
I will.
If there's one thing I would say is I'm having fun.
Perfect. I'll translate this. Él menciona algo bien interesante, y es que cómo comienza todo esto. Jane Lamroth tiene la oportunidad de viajar a Dubái a luchar, un territorio que tal vez no es muy común. Por eso él dice, él estaba haciendo cosas grandes antes, pero por la pandemia se detuvo. Pues, hace contacto con diferentes personas dentro de esos shows, hace amistades dentro de esos shows, y uno de ellos le dice, oye, voy a comprar un ring, voy a comprar un cuadrilátero, te voy a avisar cuando esté aquí. Ah, sí, yo te ayudo a montarlo, trabajamos, porque él dice, parte de lo que hacemos en la industria es montar el cuadrilátero antes de los shows y desmontar el cuadrilátero posterior a los shows. Una cosa lleva a la otra. Mira, llegó el cuadrilátero, fue un sábado, lo llama, y el sábado mismo él estuvo allí, llegaba un camión con un equipo y comenzaron a montar todo, y una cosa llevó a la otra, y tuvo la oportunidad de luchar en Dubái, en los Emiratos Árabes Unidos. Allí han hecho aproximadamente 11 shows, uno por mes, y una cosa llevó a la otra, y de momento se está enfrentando a MBM. MBM es un talento que también entrevistamos acá en Lucha Libre Online. Él es de Bélgica, tiene una oportunidad de trabajar con él y con varios de los talentos jóvenes que han estado llegando directamente allí, de hacer algo distinto. Como él dice, lo más importante es que nos estamos divirtiendo, estamos pasándola bien y estamos haciendo algo que no había hecho nadie. O sea, como él dice, we're having fun, estamos pasándola bien, y está disfrutando su estadía o su trayectoria dentro de la industria de la lucha libre. Do you have the opportunity to perform in front of actual crowd in Dubai? How was that experience for you?
Yeah, fantastic. You know, I think it's a growing audience. It's like I said, I mean, it's a very small scene, very, very small. But then there's where there's, you know, something of that kind of, where there's a small scene, there's always opportunity to grow. Yep. And I think that is a reason for us to help it grow, right? That's, you know, something that we can make into a bigger scene. And that's a fun thing to do, to be able to be a part of that. Right now, you know, we went from having 5 people, I think, in the crowd, to 10 people, to 30 people, to 60 people, to, you know, 65 people, you know, and then an extra 150 people on a Twitch stream or something like that, you know. So it's growing, and anytime we see new faces or more people RSVPing or whatever the case is, anytime there's just somebody new there, it's the best feeling for us, because we want them involved, you know. And it's great. There's, you know, we've got some loyal fans. We've got fans that have been there since the very beginning. In fact, we've got there's a 10-year-old kid whose mum brings him to almost every single show. In fact, I would say every single show. And it's just the best feeling ever, because you're literally entertaining a kid, and you can see it in his eyes. You can see the fact that you're entertaining him, and he's invested in it. He's cheering the good guys. He's booing the bad guys. He's in the show, you know. So it's a very family kind of scene. I think it's not so much like a indie scene that you would imagine in some places like the US or the UK. I think it's very much family orientated, and that's a good thing. That's fun, because we're telling stories and we're giving them what they want, and we're putting smiles on people's faces, and I think that goes a long way. I think if you can really entertain someone and put a smile on their face, especially a little kid, that's the best feeling in the world.
Awesome, brother. I'll translate that. Él menciona que sí, ha estado teniendo la oportunidad de trabajar frente a las personas de Emiratos Árabes Unidos. Y lo interesante de esto, él dice, mira, fue una escena bien pequeña y siempre hay oportunidad para crecer. there's always opportunity to grow, como menciona. Fueron de trabajar frente a 5 personas, a 10 personas, a 20 personas, a 40, a 60, 65, a 150, y poco a poco entonces va creciendo la industria de la lucha libre en Emiratos Árabes Unidos, en Dubái. Y menciona la historia de un niño de 10 años, que siempre va a tu mamá con su mamá a todos los shows, a todos los shows, a todos los shows, siempre va, a ir a todos los shows de ellos, y él dice como que, wow, se siente brutal tener la oportunidad de literalmente tú entretener a las personas, sobre todo un niño de 10 años que está en su casa, que realmente se está viviendo lo que está haciendo, que tiene el conocimiento de la industria, que él le aplauda a los good guys, a los buenos, que él abuchea a los malos. Todo esto se lo está viviendo y para él es una oportunidad excelente. Where does Jay Lamrod want to go inside the wrestling industry? What is your immediate goal and what are your long-term goals inside this industry?
Ooh, it's that is something I've thought about frequently, vividly, as clearly as crystal, as crystal clear as you can imagine. I would imagine, I would hope it's everybody's dream is to go to the top. But I can say with certainty, my goal, my dream, my ambition, my target, my vision is to absolutely be in the WWE. I want to be a WWE superstar. I want to tell stories in the ring. I want to make short films, mini movies in that ring, whether it's, 3 minutes in front of a camera or 5 minutes or 20 minutes or an hour, whatever it is. I want to tell that story to the fans. I want them as emotionally invested in what I'm doing the same way I was once, or still am as a fan, but I was emotionally invested into the matches I watch. I watch it, every week as often as possible. I watch it all the time and I am emotionally invested in the matches. I follow the storylines. I believe in the characters and I want to be able to provide that same thing. I want to be able to contribute to the business in a way that's positive so that when people look at me and go, wow, that's a crazy character, whether it's good guy or bad guy, whatever it is, I want you emotionally invested in what I'm doing. I want you listening to the sound of my voice and believe in everything I say. So if I'm whatever it is, face, heel, whatever it is. And that's ultimately my goal is to provide some kind of contribution to the business to help it become something. And I'm not afraid to get out there if it means mainstream media, entertainment, whatever the case is. I'm that guy. I believe I'm that guy. I believe I am an ambassador for professional wrestling in a way that is positive, in a way that I can go out there on radio talk show tomorrow morning and I can represent our business to people that don't know anything about our business and have them think, whoa, that Jay Lamrod guy, what's he all about? I'm going to tune in and watch it. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know if it, but I'm invested. I want to know. And that's what I want, So fingers crossed, who knows? We're having fun. We're enjoying this. And I'm grateful for everything in the journey. But that is the goal right there at the very top.
That's the perfect answer, man. I'll translate this. Él menciona que obviamente su meta es ser parte de la WWE. Él quiere ser una superestrella de la WWE, pero quiere disfrutarse el camino, quiere disfrutarse el trayecto. Pero obviamente lo que él quiere es contar mini películas, mini movies, como él dice, dentro de ese cuadrilátero, enganchar o cautivar a toda la audiencia con lo que haga, con las diferentes historias que estén contando dentro del cuadrilátero, tanto fuera de ella. Quiere ser ese embajador para la lucha libre, que si lo quieren haciendo media en The Today Show, si lo quieren haciendo media en Jimmy Kimmel, en todos lados, como que la gente que tal vez no sepa de lucha libre, como que, oye, ¿quién es ese tipo? Jay Lamrod. No sé quién es, pero está haciendo algo. Vamos a prestarle atención a lo que está haciendo. Él quiere ser ese embajador que esté jugando todas las bases, jugando todos los roles dentro de la industria de la lucha libre, por el bienestar de la misma industria, no tan solo por WWE o por la industria futura que lo contrate, sino para el crecimiento de nuestra industria que tanto lo necesita en estos momentos. Jay, man, before we go to our last question, I want to thank you very much for your time. It's been more than an honor to have you as our guest. And also, I want to say something else in Spanish. Para todos los fanáticos que están pendientes de esta entrevista, que están viéndola en estos momentos, pueden seguir a Jay Lamrod directamente en su Instagram como @JayLamrod. Ahí lo pueden buscar en Instagram como Jay Lamrod, al igual que en Twitter. En Twitter también está disponible como Jay Lamrod. Ahí lo pueden seguir, Twitter e Instagram como Jay Lamroth. Y también tiene su canal de YouTube disponible, se llama The Lamroth Way en YouTube. Ahí le presionan el botón de suscribir, ponen la campanita y están pendientes entonces a su contenido para que vean su evolución dentro de la industria de la lucha libre. Y a todos los promotores de todas partes del mundo, de Puerto Rico, de México, de Argentina, de Chile, de todas partes del mundo que estén interesados en adquirir su servicio, un muchacho que tiene experiencia en todo el circuito independiente de Reino Unido, Emiratos Árabes Unidos, en Dubái y en muchísimas otras partes, solamente tiene que contactarlo a través de un lugar y es j-lamroth@hotmail.co.uk, j-lamroth@hotmail.co.uk, pero eso va a aparecer aquí abajo o directamente a través de DM en Instagram. Ahí lo pueden hacer directamente los promotores. Before we go to our last question, I wanted to, plug everything in. It's going to be already here on the comment sections and in the description. Last but not least, Jay, what makes you smile about pro wrestling? What makes you happy enough to stay inside an industry that's so complicated? Like, people are facing depression, people are facing drug problems, alcoholism, among many other issues in their lives, both inside and outside the industry. So what makes you happy about this industry enough to stay here?
Yeah, you mentioned some of the things that people are facing, and I think it's important to recognize that and take measures towards helping that. But by that same token, it's helped people who have been bullied and need an escape from life. It's helped people who've had confidence issues and have been able to follow and relate to a particular character or a gimmick that has given them the confidence to be more happy or more positive or whatever the case may be. I myself would get lost in pro wrestling. I would watch Monday Night Raw every single week. I would watch SmackDown. I would watch these things and be lost in it. And it would bring me joy. And that joy was what inspired me to go to the gym, to pick up weights, to run, to be an athlete. I started playing other sports because I started watching wrestling before that. So I've done everything in between. I mean, and I bring that cadence, I bring that wrestling cadence with me when I do other sports. If I'm training jiu-jitsu or something or MMA, I bring that wrestling style. And people are like, really? Like, oh, this is Jay. He watches wrestling. That's his thing. If I'm playing lacrosse or if I'm doing CrossFit, whatever the case is, my interest in being a healthy, strong, better human being, the best version of myself, if you will, comes from the fact that I watched wrestling. I grew up watching guys that were larger than life characters. Every character when I was watching it as a kid growing up, and today, in fact, they're larger than life characters. They're characters that you can get yourself lost in. And when you find that one that you relate to, it inspires you. It inspires you to do good in that sense. And for me personally, it's done so many positives to me. It's done so much good for me to want to be in this industry. It's kept me in incredible shape. I'm still in it right now. I'm in the best shape of my life. And, my motivation, I wake up every morning is because I want to be the best wrestler and, that's walking around. And in order to do that, I have to be the best athlete walking around. As great as it is telling the stories and having the microphone and being able to cut a promo, which I love doing and I'm great at, I also want to be the best athlete, the best version of myself, so I can move in the ring and so I think that's the benefits that I've personally taken from it, and that's the benefits that I want to give back in a way. If I can inspire you to get in shape, to pick up a dumbbell or a barbell, to step on a treadmill, whatever the case is, if I can inspire you to do that, if you look at Jay Lamroth and go, wow, he's in good shape, maybe I should join the gym, maybe I should message him and ask him for advice. I'm there. You can ask me for advice. I will be there. I will reply. I will reply to any and every message. And by the way, tell the fans, the Lucha Libre Online people, you can message me in Spanish. I actually read and reply in Spanish better than I speak it. So because I speaking it, I'm not as confident, hands in the air, I must admit. So, it's one of those things that I want to give what inspired me. I found inspiration in that. Sorry, it's a long answer, by the way. I found inspiration in that, and I want to inspire other people. And if that's through positivity or fitness or character work, whatever the case is, there's something there that's a positive to take away.
Jay menciona que la industria de la lucha libre ha sido suficientemente buena con él en un inicio era como que él era el muchacho que había lucha libre, pero él llevaba ese bagaje y ese entrenamiento de lucha libre y esa pasión a los diferentes deportes en donde él estaba, sea jiu-jitsu, sea fútbol o lo que sea que practicara. Decidió un momento dado levantarse a ir a un gimnasio, se inscribe, agarrar un dumbbell y volver entonces a ponerse en buena forma física. Y fueron estas cosas, como él dice, que la industria ha sido muy buena con él y él quiere hacer eso mismo por las personas, ser la persona que los inspire a ustedes a que, mira, pueden meterse en un gimnasio, pueden mejorar su condición física, pueden hacer lo que ustedes quieran hacer, pueden entrar al deporte que ustedes quieran entrar. Y como él dice, mira, a todos ustedes pueden sentirse cómodos de escribir un mensaje en español, él puede escribir en español y lo lee, o sea, hablándolo no es tan bueno, pero escribiéndolo y leyéndolo sí, así que envíale un mensaje. Si ustedes tienen dudas, si ustedes quieren pertenecer a la industria de la lucha libre y no saben cómo hacerlo, Jay Lambrot es la persona. Si ustedes quieren ir a un gimnasio y no saben cómo rayos hacer su rutina, Jay Lambrot también es la persona. Simplemente vayan directamente a su DM y envíenle sus mensajes con sus dudas, con sus preguntas y él va a estar, créanme, mucho más feliz que de responderla a toda la familia de Lucha Libre Online. Jay, once again, man, it's been an absolute honor to have you here as our guest. Always wishing you success in your career and in your personal life. And fingers crossed, man. Let's hope to see you Latin America soon.
Absolutely, that is well. You know, I've watched you know, wrestling in Puerto Rico with Mr. Colon and everything, so I'm very well aware of it. I would love to be there one day. That is an absolute goal. It's safe to say you'll definitely see me there at some point one day, hopefully. So let's, you know, maybe we'll meet up there too.
Hopefully we will, man. And let's wrap this up in Spanish. Este fue Jay Lambrot del Reino Unido para el mundo y Michael Morales Torres para Lucha Libre Online, la marca número 1 de Pro Wrestling y Combat Sports en español.